All right. Hey, George, thanks for coming on with me. So for anybody watching the video that doesn't know, this is George Bardissi, owner of BVoip, as well as an MSP, active MSP. So
That's right. One
got
came
some,
from the other, so it's nice to know,
yeah,
how you got to where you're going, right?
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of folks, the founder of our company is an MSP, active MSP. So I think that's not uncommon in the channel that folks, have a solution and then become a vendor in the space and bring a lot
I
of
mean, seems to,
experience.
seems to be the not so uncommon anymore. But hey, no, I mean, listen, everybody's run into a challenge and they felt that nobody fit or hit it or solved it. I mean, great
Yeah,
ideas start from somewhere, right?
exactly. So we want to talk about today, I wanted to chat with you about prospecting. So been talking about that a lot on the blog that, we publish on our blog, and you have an interesting perspective because you're doing it for your business
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing it for your other business. So you're doing it
Yeah.
as an MSP
No,
as well as a vendor.
it's a wide topic, right? So, if you get into the more seasoned sales guys, right? They usually split up their sales effort into hunting and farming, right?
Right.
So hunting are people who are going out there trying to create something from nothing and they're trying to bring it in. And farming is, hey, I have an existing relationship, active customer, whatever, and I'm trying to build up that relationship and maybe do more. Prospecting is the hunting part. That is the hardest part, because what you're trying to do is take something that's maybe cold or quasi warm and get it into something that's rolling. Not everybody's good at it, to be honest with
Right.
you, and it's an acquired skill. I mean, the more personable you are, the better off you are, because if you can talk to people and strike a conversation out of the blue, that's good. But if you struggle to build that dialogue up and you're not good at that, maybe the small talk side of things, kind of, bridge into the larger conversation, you might struggle a bit. But it's definitely required, whether it's the MSP, again, putting my hat on from the vendor who sells the MSPs, it's the same activities, it's the same effort. If you're not doing it, you will be unhappy at the end of the year, quarter, month, whatever you look at the math, because business ebbs and flows, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Some people grow, some people close, some people, get acquired. I mean, there's just a natural ebb and flow to business right now. We tend to be in a really great economic time. So there's a lot of that happening more than people going out of business. But because of that ebb and flow, you have to bring in new customers. They say, generally speaking, you'll lose something like 12% a year if you do nothing.
Right.
That's a problem because at some point you'll go to zero. So you need to do prospecting in order to bring in new clients.
Right. Yeah. And I've been writing about this a lot because we're recording this in the beginning of the year. So I've been talking about it a lot. It's really popular. People ask about it. And it's important for our business, my business, because if my clients in audit are not getting in clients, they're not going to have anybody to audit, right? Same thing for any vendor, right? If they're not bringing in, so it's a real important topic for anybody. And it's really, prospecting is the lifeblood of any business. And I was talking about in the most recent blog post, and I'm just doing things to try and make it easier for people. I think people get scared about it. And I wanted to get your opinion on, I think everybody thinks prospecting, they think about the phone, right? Picking up the phone and calling somebody, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that, right? How do you, talk a little bit about that? Do you do cold calling? Do you do email? Do you do what do you do?
Sure. It's a multi-phase situation, right? It's 2020. Some of the old school tactics like cold calling do work. I mean, I'm
Right.
not going to deny it,
Sure.
but that alone usually doesn't fit the bill, right?
Right.
You need to almost think about a multi-phase direction, right? So number one, the biggest thing I can offer is, there's the throw everything against the wall and hope that it sticks kind of thing. And that tends to take the longest amount of time for the most amount of energy. I'm
Right.
not saying that people don't do it. They do absolutely do it. What I'm trying to tell you is sometimes it makes sense to split your day up. You know, if I'm a rep or I'm a person going out there prospecting myself, or I'm a team, to target the people that you're absolutely trying to get to, right? Who is your perfect customer? I'm going after specific people. And when you're going after specific people that you do not have a relationship with, you can get kind of fancy with it, right? Instead of just trying to cold call them, you can send them a package, a letter, a gift, a cup of coffee. I've seen all sorts of gimmicks here, because at the end of the day, if somebody gets a box, they're probably going to open it.
Sure.
It's not going to get screened by the gatekeeper. If you send somebody something and then follow up with that something, right? You sent them a package, a gift, an experience, whatever it may be, likely they'll take your call because you've already opened up an initial interaction that's unique. Email and phone calls absolutely work, but usually in conjunction with something. Yeah, you can do them one-off, but I'm going to tell you that you're going to have to do a lot of that in order for it to convert into a conversation, which is what we're all trying to have. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's a combination of my best advice to people when on this topic is it's easier and it's more beneficial, and you'll see better outcomes if you're driving people to something. Okay? Instead of just calling them up saying, hey, I want to talk to you about X, you should say, hey, I want to invite you to something. Hey, I want to send you something. Hey, can you join me at whatever it is? Lunch and Learn, a webinar. Some people have done the dinners and the breakfasts and hey, I've rented out the movie theater prior to a movie coming out that's popular, or whatever it may be. How far are you going to go? But when I talk about this, I talk about it from, hey, you can take the level up a few notches to just, hey, Mr. Cold Prospect, my name is George. Will you be willing to listen to me for 30 seconds before you hang up the phone? So I really feel like one task at a time in its own island isn't enough today. I think there needs to be a plan so that when you are prospecting, you have better results from your time investment.
Right. And like from you're getting started, somebody's getting started, what would you say to them about how much patience do you need to have with prospecting? We know, and I know, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell you that anytime I do something happens, right? If I send an email, if I pick up the phone and call somebody, if I go to a networking event, if I do something, things happen. They don't happen like that. The pipeline builds. And whenever I have had dry months, I can always equate it back to, well, I wasn't doing things, and there's a timeline. So for an MSP, I know for this business what it takes. What do you think it takes for an MSP? How much patience?
100%. As an MSP, or anybody really, if you're not doing the activity, Mike, I agree with you 100%. If you don't put out, you're not going to get back, right? So you can get, prospecting is largely considered an outbound activity, right? There's inbound marketing. I'm putting digital assets up. I'm putting videos like you're doing now. I'm creating content for people to then come to me. Prospecting is largely an outbound, situation where you have to go and get it. As an MSP, the more you're out there, the more you're talking to people. And let me tell you, the best type of, collaboration or communication with somebody is in person. I know it's 2020. We're on a Zoom right now. People love web and photos and Instagram and all this. That's great. That's secondary to, I talk to somebody in person. I'm telling you, I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new. So at the end of the day, events, networking events, chamber events, if there's mixers, if there's community events, if there's business events, anywhere where you can actually strike a conversation is better than doing nothing. Now, there's the expos and the trade shows, right? There's verticalized events, right? Doctors associations and, architects associations and lawyer conferences, and all of those are no different than as a vendor, we're going to MSP events.
Right.
100%. I know they have a cost, but again, if you are very, clear about what you're targeting, you can spend your money more wisely. But it doesn't always mean having to sponsor something, get a table, take somebody out. Those are all great things. Sometimes it's just being in the right place consistently enough to build a rapport, which ultimately comes back to you in conversation so that you're top of mind. That's really what marketing and sales is. It's being in the right place where when somebody has a pain or a need, you're there to, they think about you to call you or contact you to help solve that problem. Unfortunately, time's a fickle beast. You miss somebody, you're off, whatever it may be. It happens all the time. But if you don't spend the effort to be consistent enough to be in front of people, I know there's LaTip groups, I know there's BNIs, I know there's all these types of things. I don't know if I'm a fan of all the monetization of you're forced to give leads, but I digress. At the end of the day, you do need to get a flow, right? And building the rapport with the people like the realtors and the movers and all these people who know when things are moving around, that could be the type of relationship that nets you a lot of fruit. Because usually when people are moving offices or moving into a new facility or coming into the area for the first time, guess what they need? Technical services. Right. They usually don't always have it buttoned up. Everybody thinks everybody's already working with an MSP. That's false. That's clearly false. They may have worked with somebody in the past, but may not be actively working through something as they're in the middle of whatever it may be. So again, Mike, to your point, activity. Be in the right places, show up consistently, build a rapport, create the relationships. Even the people that may not be a direct prospect to you, you may be able to reciprocate something back and forth.
Sure. Yeah, great advice. And that's why I wanted to have you on here, because you do a great job from BVoip. I see what you do with BVoip. You're on the road, you host your own road shows. We've participated in events that you've sponsored at other events, and you're always finding unique ways to get in front of people.
It's 100%, Mike. I mean, I get it. Running events are not easy or inexpensive. I understand.
Right.
And having run events on our own, I understand how much effort it takes to pull it off and make it viable. But it doesn't mean you can't be creative. Like you said, an event around another event could work out really well. Here's an example for the MSP. A music festival, a car show, some sort of local event where people are congregating. You can do a side event to the event where people are already going to. That way you don't have to get them to be in an area. They're already in an area per se, and then you can just take a little bit of their time off to the side, right? Hey, drinks on us if you're going to the local XYZ car show at the community center, and we're having a little happy hour over here at the whatever bar. How hard is that? It's not. But you have to think about sometimes outside of the box, right? They may not be the perfect events for the MSP to prospect, but what is a perfect event now? People are getting spammed with everything. You need to be a little bit, sometimes unique. And I get it, it's a build-up process, Mike, but you got to start somewhere.
Right. I love that idea. Have you done any, not to put you on the spot, but have you done any things locally like you've done? Because we sponsored a party. We were one of the many sponsors at a party that you did at DattoCon, at IT Nation. That's a specific MSP event. We know all MSPs are going to be there. Have you done something locally like that?
Yeah, absolutely. As an MSP, understanding the event schedule locally, right? Like I'm in suburban Philadelphia. There are, several towns and boroughs, and there's just always something happening, right? Having the local schedule for like a 10 or 15 municipal radius around where we are gives us an idea of what chambers are operating, what local community events are happening, who's opening up a new building, who's doing something different and new. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to pick up the phone, talk to the people organizing those events, and you'll find that it may not take a lot of effort to pull something off. Let me give you an example. We were at an event. We knew that a local business was doing a ribbon cutting. Like an opening ceremony. Hey, we're opening our building. Pretty big outfit out by us, something local. And so effectively what we did All right. Effectively, what we did was we reached out to that company and we said, hey, we see that you're bringing, the Chamber of Commerce in to do your ribbon cutting, what have you. And we noticed that next door, there's a cool venue. And we'd like to do, after you're done your ribbon cutting, not to like interfere, but afterwards, we'd like to invite people to come over for some small sliders and drinks for like a lunch, early lunch type thing. And they were like, hey, it helps us. We weren't thinking about feeding anyone, and we would love, we'll put a little bit of promo in there for you because you're covering the bill, and it'll all work out. And you know what? We had 50 people show up. We had little sandwiches and sliders, drinks, iced tea, whatever, beer, whatever, people ordered. The bill in the end was only what, $275. We ended up closing 2 new MSP accounts from it. For what?
Yeah.
Right place, right time. Listen, worst thing that could happen is they say no, Mike. That's okay. But
Right.
At least I asked and I got an answer back. If you don't try, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to get the answer as yes. But more times than not, I bet you will. But you're not going to get that answer if you don't actually put it out there.
I love that. That there's so many ideas. You're really clever at that. Yeah. And anybody who's listening who is just thinking like I am, like, man, I wish I could come up with stuff like that, should shoot George a message and get in touch with George. And I know you'd probably be happy to talk to anybody.
Listen, I love putting ideas together. I'm not the master of all ideas, trust me, but sometimes it doesn't need to be complicated. Sometimes you just need to be willing to do it. I think everybody's hesitant, right, about spaces and being, and not stepping on people and all, toes and all that stuff. And I'm right there with you. I want to be respectful, but again, I'm not just going to show up out of the blue and pop up a tent and have a tailgate party in the middle of a ribbon cutting, right. But I can absolutely make it a little bit classier and have everybody win. But I mean, that's just one scenario. But like I said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You may just augment the wheel. How about that? Sure. That may be the pitch of the day.
Yeah. I mean, that's, like I said, that's, all these ideas. I mean, there's always events going on and, for those MSPs who are generalists, if they're not picking a vertical or they're not targeting a vertical, there's chamber events. Like you said, there's probably a chamber event every month. If you're in a big enough town, you've got a chamber there that's active. Why not? Hey, can we sponsor the food, or can we sponsor, the drinks? Or, hey, by the way, if you're going to be at this chamber, you're throwing the after event at the bar for, come get your drink.
Trust me, we'll always take your money.
Yeah.
That's not a question. The question is, for the little bit of time and money investment, can you get something out of it? Right. Just showing up is a good starter, but then you build and you can kind of, spread your wings a little bit in order to get more out of it. I think at the end of the day, you can even create your own little events, right? How about this idea, Mike? We did a customer event where we tailgated for a Philadelphia Eagles game. They actually didn't go into the game. We just tailgated it, and then they went home to watch the game. It's just simple ideas like this, right? It doesn't always even have to be during the work week. Sometimes being able to stretch into cool-ish events, or cool venues will help kind of bridge the gap.
That's great information. That's great advice, man. I appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you and talk to you about BVoip.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we started at BVoip from an MSP. You can find us online at BVoip.com. My email address is just gbardissi@bvoip.com. Nothing hidden there. I'm all over the internet. We cater to IT and MSP shops who are trying to solve their internal requirements for VoIP, right? Integrated into all your tools and reporting dashboards and metrics and stuff like that, but also a solution to standardize and sell into your customer base. So, happy to chat with anybody about that, or even just cool event ideas. Sometimes people give me ideas and I'm like, man, that's stellar. We're going to pull that one off, and that ended up turning into boats and all sorts of little weird things that we've done. But hey, all good.
Well, we'll talk about it again. For folks that are audit users that are watching this, make sure you talk to George, because you should be taking advantage of that fourth category in the audit system, which is telecom. So definitely talk to George about BVoip.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Mike, and thanks for everyone for watching. Talk soon.